What if the reason therapy hasn't fully worked for you isn't because you're doing anything wrong, but because insight alone can only take you so far? In this episode, we're exploring what happens when healing moves beyond just talking and into the body. We're diving into somatic therapy, nervous system regulation, Reiki, yoga, and even intuitive tools, and how these approaches can create real, lasting change. Talk therapy feels like it's not enough. Have you ever thought, I understand my patterns, but I still feel stuck? This conversation might shift how you see healing entirely. All right, everyone, and welcome back to the Lunar Counseling Podcast. I'm your host, Kiara Brown, and as a professional counselor, EMDR Certified Therapist, Certified Hypnotherapist, and the owner of Lunar Counseling. This podcast is a space for grounded, real conversations with therapists, healers, and guides about the deeper layers of mental health, trauma, embodiment, and what it truly means to heal in integrated and sustainable ways. Here we explore the intersection of science and spirit, nervous system regulation and intuitive wisdom, clinical skill, and lived experience. Today I have Kanja. I thought it was pronounced that again, did I? That's okay. Kanjana. Right.
Yeah.
For sure. She's in the podcast. Kanjana is an LCSW, C-IAYT, CCFP, and Reiki Master, and she takes therapy beyond the couch and into the world through nature, movement, art, ritual, and energy work. With a licensed psychotherapist, A-I-A-T certified yoga therapist, and Reiki Master, she supports clients and clinicians alike, discovering that while insight and the therapeutic relationship are powerful, transformation often deepens to the body, the breath, and creative or spiritual practices that align with one's beliefs and values. She's the founder of Healing Hearts Wellness, where she leads a team of somatic and yoga therapists who are redefining what modern healing can look like, grounded in science and infused with spirit. Through retreats, workshops, and continuing education programs, she invites people to reconnect compassionately with every layer of their being: physical, energetic, emotional, intuitive, and spiritual. She also runs a vibrant neurodiversity affirming therapist learning community through Wander Home retreats, offering social connection, body doubling, unique and experiential continuing education opportunities in a community rooted in abundance rather than scarcity. She's also the co-creator of the annual Body Compassion Project retreat, has conducted yoga for mental health research at Temple University with hundreds of students, and has led therapists with retreats across the country. She's even presented at universities, healthcare organizations, law firms, and mental health summits. She is known for her quirky and experiential teaching style. She invites participants to show up exactly as they are and to explore healing as both a science and an art, evidence-based, embodied, and maybe even a little bit magical. This is going to be an amazing conversation. So thank you so much for being here. I cannot wait to learn more about you and like how you got to this point in your journey. So so excited to hear about it.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to chat with you. I think we have a lot of things in common, so this is going to be fun.
I think so too. This is going to be awesome. So I'll ask everyone, what brought you to your therapy journey? So can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I actually started in like the healing space thinking I was going to do policy work. So that's what got me into social work. And I was already doing a lot of Reiki and yoga for my own communities. So a lot of like when I was in college, I had a dance circle and like breath work and gentle yoga and things like that, and sharing philosophy and readings, and that's what my personal path was. And then as I started to study policy work, I realized I did not want to do it. And I enjoyed grassroots work and bottom up, not just in terms of what we're doing and like with policy, but also in terms of how we work with people. I've realized that I also am bottom up there. And so that's what got me into the therapy space, was starting to work in the field and realizing, oh, okay, this is not quite the path for me, but we're close, and then recalibrating.
Cool. So you're doing the Reiki and the dance even like before you got your graduate degree.
Yes.
So what got you into Reiki?
So I did my study abroad in Japan and ended up going a little early and staying a little late. So I was there like almost a year and a half. And the study abroad was a cultural immersion. And so I lived at a Rinzai Zen temple for 3 months. I went back and forth there a couple times, did week-long silent retreat a few times, and it was really life-changing. And one of the monks there also was a Reiki master. And to be honest, I agreed to learning about Reiki from him, not because I was curious about Reiki, but because I was 20 and he was really cute. I was still learning about meditation and attachment. So my motivator was a little bit different, but it really, I thought nothing was going to happen. And I had a wild experience and it changed the trajectory of my life. That's how I got into Reiki. And this was back in undergrad. So I was not even thinking I was going to be a therapist yet. It was just for my own personal growth and curiosity.
Little cool. I wanted to study abroad, but I didn't. I wasn't allowed to go. So I wanted to go to Scotland, and they wanted me to go to a non-European country to have a
Mhm.
cultural immersion. And I didn't speak any other languages other than a little bit of French. Like, I don't feel comfortable going to another country where I don't even speak the language.
Yeah, that's fair. Like you want to be able to communicate so you feel comfortable and can get around.
Yeah, but did you speak Japanese before you went to Japan?
I minored in both Japanese and Spanish. I wouldn't say I'm fluent, but I can get around. I can eat out and use the transportation system and have basic conversations, but not like real book diving deep.
I couldn't even do that. Like you show me their characters, and I'm like, I don't know what this is.
Yeah, that's fair. It's honestly reading is the hardest part of that language for me. So
That's so cool. So, how long did it take for you to become like a Reiki master whenever you were there?
So I didn't go right away to try to get to the master level. So that took me maybe a decade. So it was just as I felt like I was ready for the next, I would do level 2 and then level 3. So I just had the Reiki 1 that I started in Japan and then did Reiki 2 maybe I want to say in grad school. So 3 or 4 years later and then did the Reiki Master, gosh, before the pandemic. But what is time? I don't know, 2018. Something like that. And that was like, long story short, my dog was dying and I wanted to offer him something for suffering relief and myself too. And I was offering yoga for free at a local spiritual center. And the chaplain there said she would or give me the Reiki Master training for free so that I could treat my dog. And it was really sweet of her. And so that was like a weird unofficial channel to do that through, but it was really personally meaningful for me. So the timing was just what fell into place.
Cool. So, when did you start doing your yoga practice?
So I've been doing yoga since I was little. My Apapa, which is my dad's dad, he would teach us and just say stretching, and there'd be a talk and philosophy, and it's yoga, but it's just, okay, this is what we do with Apapa when he's visiting. So I've always had it in my life like that, not really like a Western American like studio or gym practice. I did get more into that after the Reiki training. And it's like, oh, yoga is probably a place where I will feel comfortable and there will be a lot of overlap with Reiki and meditation. So maybe studio spaces are where I can get more of what I'm missing now that I'm back in the States and have left Japan, where I really felt like I had all those spiritual pieces available to me that made sense to me. So learning how to blend that in to what life looks like for me here, or it did at that time. I lost your question as I was chatting.
So, it was like more of what brought you to yoga. So, it sounds like your grandfather, and
Oh,
then
yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, my grandfather, and then I was missing spiritual practices after coming back to the States. So I got involved with studios and tried a variety of different practices. And then when I started my career as a therapist, I started in cancer care and then moved into hospice. And that way of entering into the field is really open to like Reiki, yoga, things that back when I started 15 years ago were even more a no-no than they are today. That was a space where people were more open to it. So that's when I started bringing yoga into session.
That makes sense because dealing with hospice and even cancer stuff and like just any like of those higher intense like illnesses, they just want some form of relief, whatever way that they can get it. And like
Yeah.
and that's what they tried everything the Western medicine can give them to like they're more open to other ideals.
Yes, and not just even the people who are getting the service, but also the other providers who are recommending services. And if your doctor scoffs at you going to get acupuncture or Reiki, that might impact whether or not you go to get those services or how helpful you find them. So I think that's a piece of it too, is that specific way of getting into the field for me was really permission giving to bring in those parts of my life too.
Wonderful. It sounds like you were able to have a space where your even supervisors were like very open to you like really pulling in who you were as an individual into therapy space where like most people they start with me mental health. It's like you have to well accept who you are and do
Mhm.
what we tell you to do. And
Yes. So I wish it was that clean and clear and that lovely. That was not it. I definitely had to fight to bring in Reiki and yoga, but they were open to it because I could say, hey, the hospitals that we partner with have been offering Reiki for 20 years in their cancer wing. Why are we having an issue with offering it to then people transitioning over to hospice care? And that was a little bit of an easier sell than when I worked at a group practice and tried to bring in my yoga mat.
in like a group practice, they were still fighting against it.
Mhm. Yeah,
Mm,
it was in a pediatrician's office, so that was part of it too, is you don't look professional with your rainbow hair and your yoga mat and yoga pants.
Let's do a different office. Like the kids are gonna love you. Like
Oh, yeah.
they're let everyone see.
Exactly. Oh, that's fun. I would rather do that than go talk to, the same human in a suit in a room sitting still.
Yeah, that's fun. Kids loves people that can really express themselves, and then they will feel open to expressing themselves how they need to be expressing themselves in those moments. So
Yes.
I'm glad you pushed back against that because those kids really love the heck out of you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I think that's true for adults too. Like if we're ourselves as therapists, like it gives them a little grace to do the same.
I've always wanted to do something crazy with my hair, but I would hate the upkeep of it. So I don't do anything like super crazy with my when I dye my hair. I just do henna on my hair, and it like it works.
Yeah, I always tell people to go for it. I'm like the queen of low maintenance, which you would not think with rainbow hair, but I literally go twice a year and she does the bleach. And then when it washes out to whitish blonde, which is starting to happen, I just paint it with colored conditioner. It's really fun and easy and like it'll last for a few months. So if you want to do it, you should.
I don't like putting a lot of chemicals on my hair.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like regular dye. I don't. It bothers me. That's why I went from the regular dye to the henna because
Yeah.
it's more natural way of coloring my hair, and it especially goes on nice and warm. It's really nice on the scalp.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a nice
Yeah,
color.
yeah, that's jokes. What's just like how long were you at that group practice before you transitioned out of there?
Yeah. So I was at the group for maybe 3 or 4 years. I went from hospice to play therapy, so that was an interesting shift. Yeah, one end of
Sure.
life to the other. Weird amount of overlap in those 2 populations, but yeah, I did that for a few years and then went into private practice, and after a few years of that, started offering CE trainings and became a group practice through that process.
Cool. So tell me about how the overlap between play therapy with kids and hospice, because I've never thought of them overlapping.
Yeah, I think there's, again, that freedom in like we're at the end of life or we're at the start of life, where there's more room for play, for spirituality, for exploration, rather than being stuck in just like talk and process. And so I think that really sticks out to me is like the feel of the session itself. If you are a fly on the wall, it's much more, for me at least, experiential with those two populations, that there's willingness with kids and with people at the end of life to explore in a different way. Like for kids, it's play. For adults, it can be play too, but there's other ways we can conceptualize it to help folks feel a little more open.
Do you ever, oh my gosh, did any parents ever push back against you, like bringing in yoga with the kids?
No, I think it was mostly just the like setting I was in, the doctor's office. I'm trying to think if there were any parents who pushed back. So that practice was in Lancaster. So it was interesting. I was working with a lot of Mennonite clients and did not get pushback from them on the yoga and meditation. So I thought that was really, I was surprised by that. I thought in a more religious community that they would maybe be off put by that, but they were really open to it.
It's really cool. So are you still in are you still in Pennsylvania now? Where are you?
Yes. Yeah. So I have lived in the same place the whole time, but I tend to work all around. So my office is in Exton, and then I just opened a Philly office as well at the end of last year. So I've got two spots and then virtual, of course.
Pennsylvania as well. I'm closer to Pittsburgh.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yes. So cool. So what do you like the best during of your practice? Like now that you like have as a group practice, what part of it like really speaks to your soul?
Yeah. So I think like when you were saying like, oh, that's so nice that they let you bring in who you are and like part of your work. I feel like that's what I hope I'm creating at my practice, where the clinicians who join me are really passionate about holistic and somatic therapies. And so letting them obviously study first those practices that they're interested in, and then working with them to learn how to ethically and effectively apply it. I really love that, like helping people find their passion and their path forward as a therapist. So maybe they've done talk therapy for a while and they're realizing there's a little bit of a gap in care, right? That talk alone is not feeling like enough anymore. And then that's where I love to talk with folks. And sure, it could be like, let's talk about yoga and Reiki and meditation. And that's the pieces I bring in, but it might be something else entirely. And that can be a lot of fun too. So I think that is part of what sets my group apart, is that it's very like focused on growth and education, but also being authentic.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. Do you ever pull in anything other, sorry, any other spiritual practices into your work with clients other than like meditation, Reiki, and yoga?
Yeah, we did a training last year on bringing tarot into sessions. So I've been doing that for a little while now. I have a gal on the team who's really well versed in astrology. So she'll bring in people's natal charts. Obviously, I bring in the Reiki, the yoga, we'll do some chakra work. I have crystals in the office, singing bowls. So I bring those in as appropriate. And it climbs all over the spectrum, where it's either, Kanjana, I know you do that weird stuff and I'm not interested. And then maybe 6 months later, they'll be like, I'm feeling really anxious. Let's try some of the weird stuff. Great. Or it'll be like, let's do intervention heavy. Like we're barely talking when you come in. We are just working on what the focus is, whether that's inner child healing or recovery from an acute trauma. It can really vary.
Really cool. Okay. The one time I found that once personally, and like just that one experience that was like phenomenal. So I can only imagine like actually having it in a therapeutic space. Because the one experience I had that was an expo, but to do it like as like targeted to something, that be sounds like so cool.
Yeah, yeah, it's really lovely. Like I love sound bowl for myself, but I also love offering it to clients. And we have this giant bowl that's called a grounding bowl that you take your shoes off and you stand inside. And then when you hit it, you like feel the vibration going up your whole body, and it's so settling. Like I'll hit it if I'm often running a little late. I always come in 30 minutes early, but it's like in a rush. And so they're like, oh, I just made it for my 30-minute buffer. And I'm always a little frazzled because I'm rushing. And so I'll go take my shoes off and start my day with the grounding bowl to kind of center me and bring me back into the space.
Really cool. I've never thought about that. I've heard like the vibration plates and stuff that people can like sit on, but I've never heard of standing in a sound bowl and like having that coming in with it. That's really cool.
Yeah, if you ever get a chance to try it, like it's pretty neat. Highly recommend. Do not just do it with a random bowl though, because some of them are like crystal and you can't stand in them. But there is a specific standing one.
I'll have to find it, or I'll go to the girl that did the sound bath and see if she has one. And be like, hey, can we do this?
Yeah, or next time we do a sound bath, you'll have to just come over from Pittsburgh.
Try to find about this stuff, Nelly.
Yeah, just a short little drive.
We do a cross Philadelphia, so we go to New Jersey every summer for vacation. We go to Avalon, New Jersey every summer. So I always drive past Philadelphia.
There you go. That's the perfect time to stop by. You're probably going down to the shore.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm never the one driving, and it's my husband drives. I hate doing long drives.
That's fair. You can be the passenger princess.
And like, and I'm corralling the kids.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. So actually, speaking of the tarot stuff, I actually took a training a couple weekends ago about actually incorporating tarot and oracle cards into practice. Do you have a preferred method of using them whenever you bring them into practice?
Yeah. So definitely tarot is something that is newer for my personal practice. Maybe I probably got into it a couple years after the training in Japan. And then I only started bringing it into session last year. But I find it's really helpful personally when I feel stuck. I'll sometimes pull a card and kind of see what it has to show me about that. And then I find the same thing is helpful for clients too. So whether it's they have a specific question that they're not sure about, or they're feeling really stuck in a certain area, or even if they're like, I don't know what I want to talk about today, then we'll shuffle the deck and see what emerges. And it can be a nice jumping off point because it really doesn't matter where you start, right? As the session goes on, we're going to get to what we're meant to get to.
That was very cool. Yeah, Jane, I did was also talked about how like, using the imagery on the picture as like for them to put their own meaning towards it. Like, even though say like someone gets like the Empress card, right? Like it might not be like the described normal meaning of the Empress, could be like whatever like the imagery on that card is what like comes up for them.
Yes. Yeah. So instead of like a reading where you would be interpreting, like the same thing if someone's creating art in your practice, I'm not an art therapist. So I have the play therapy background. So I might do some play therapy exploration, but I don't have that art therapy background. But instead of analysis, I'll ask them what they might notice and what the process was like for them and what happened in their energy, their body, their breath through that practice before and after. Rather than telling them the cards that I've drawn, it'll be like, here's the ones we've looked at before we even look it up. Here's the little book. You can read the description and let me know if something is jumping out to you. But before that, we'll look at the imagery, the felt sense. There's 3 cards together, what's showing up for that person.
Really cool. Because you're right. It is like really about like their own energies that they put onto the card too. It's like whatever like they interprets. Like whenever I got on a training, the tradition had these animal spirit cards, and I
Yeah.
picked badger and a dog, and because we're talking about the little frustration that I had, and it's like the badger's face looked like it was like you wake with an opposite, like why the heck are you waking me up right now? I was just calm and now I'm mad. The kind of expression,
Yeah.
and then the dog was like, thinking like the type of dog eyes. I'm feeling guilty, like all these things. It's like crazy. They're like nothing of that on the card was like describing that. Just like my interpretation of those animals based on the time of day that I was looking at them.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, it's powerful for you because something that's showing up for you is being represented there in front of you. And then that's the piece that you can then work on in the session. Okay, this is what really stood out to you. And sometimes it's like nothing resonates. Okay, cool. Then let's just move on.
Sometimes
It
I just
doesn't have
like
to work for you.
it's like they let things like flow how they need to flow without putting like prescribed meaning to it. It's like you're not doing any divination with it. It's more just like what energy's coming out in like the card that you get.
Exactly. And that way it's more about the process and the exploration with the client rather than here's my interpretation of the cards that I've pulled. That's not appropriate for this setting, but using tarot in this way in session is appropriate because we're letting them lead. And we're doing the same thing. We're using Socratic questioning, right? We're using all of our same skills to explore what it's like for them.
Can you tell me a little bit about your CE process? Like, how did you get started with doing that?
Yeah. So, like many things in my life, totally just an accident where it just was a need. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm doing this thing now. So, when I started my private practice, I had a wait list pretty quickly for offering yoga in session and could not find other therapists who were doing it. This was like 15 years ago. And so I was like, I didn't feel like a wait list felt ethical to me personally, because then people were waiting, like I do long-term therapy, a question mark amount of months, maybe even a year. That's not cool. If they need help, they should get help. I'm not the only human who can help. There's so many. And so I wanted to bridge the gap. And that's how I offered my first CE. I was like, I need people to refer to. Everyone's telling me that they have yoga teacher training and they're a therapist, but they don't know how to combine them. So I'll just do a CE to help you find that confidence and understand which practices to use when. Because just like cognitive therapy, it's not one size fits all. We can't just do the same practice for everybody. And that's how the CEs started, was okay, how do we get these skills into the therapy room? Or maybe we've already read about them, but feel imposter syndrome and aren't using them. And so I offered that CE. So I'd have folks to refer to. And then that's also how I became a group, because some of the gals who took the training said they wanted additional support around application and could they just work for me instead. Like, oh, I don't know how to do that, but I guess we will find out. And yeah, so here we are.
Makes sense. So I know a lot of people have to do like yoga and therapy together. What do you think is like the best at the best? Like, what is the process to combining the both in therapy? So I don't know.
Yeah, I think it can look a lot of different ways. So I think you can be a therapist with no training in yoga and bring elements of yoga into practice. It's not going to necessarily look like yoga poses, but you can bring movement. If you are also a yoga teacher and a therapist, there are trainings on how to blend the two together. I'm happy to talk about some of them. The one that I did is the one with all the letters, the C-IAYT, which is the Certified International Association of Yoga Therapists. So that's a 3-year certification and about 1,000 hours, which I know doesn't sound super appealing if you just finished your 3,000 hours to get your, clinical license. But the trainings that I offer, I hope bridge the gap where it's 20 or 30 hours of really specified yoga training for therapists. And then I have ones for therapists with teacher training, yoga teacher training, and ones without. Because, like, absolutely do the yoga therapy program if you're passionate about it. And it's very expensive and it's 3 years. And if you're not wanting to work with complex chronic illness, you probably just need the mental health portion. And of course, the yoga therapy for mental health training is geared towards yoga teachers. So the mental health portion is like, it feels like you already know the stuff, as the therapist. You're like, yeah, I know this. And so what I created is the in between of the basics, right? Like we
Yeah.
bring the body into therapy already, but we want to know how to go further and do it safely, because it makes sense that you wouldn't teach the same physical or breath practice to someone with depression as someone with anxiety. So that's kind of what I tell people is great. I'm so glad that all yoga is therapeutic. Doing yoga in session is awesome. If you want it to be a little more specific and targeted, then you can get that additional training, whether it's like a couple weekends focused on your specific area or maybe that 3 year cert. And a million things in between. So there's a lot of potential paths.
Wow. I didn't realize it was that long, but that sounds like really intense. 'Cause I've done yoga personally, like sporadically throughout my life. but I've never done any like formalized training with it. But I know I definitely recognize like the value of it because in life in general and like also in the therapy space. So it's definitely an interesting piece to have in your tool belt essentially.
Yeah, yeah, I really love it. And I think a lot of times people hear yoga and they have an idea of what that means. And it's like achieving certain shapes and you're young, able bodied, thin, white, flexible, wealthy, right? That's what we see. That's the Instagrammable version of yoga. But yoga therapy is not studio or gym yoga. It looks very different in person. When there's a class type setting, often everyone's doing something else in the same space at the same time.
There's not like in the moment like everyone learn that like certain like breath work, they might be like doing like maybe breath work, but might be doing it in a different way based on what their individual need is.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's not trying to always fit what is it, square peg into a round hole or whatever, right? It's let's meet your body and your nervous system where it is and then gently shift towards where you'd like to be instead of going from where you are to like 0 to 100. That's violence, right? We need to ramp off or ramp on, right? Do it gently or gradually, right? Just like we do in talk therapy. We're not like, let's go to the most intense thing day one, just skip ahead, right? We build our way to it.
Tell parents all the time, we need to baby step this. I know you guys want to get it from A to Z. So there's so many high achieving people. I'm like, you can't go A to Z. It is not how like, this works. That's not sustainable. That's not sustainable change. You're going to burn
Mhm.
out.
Yeah.
And so then once they like actually start making like the first baby step and things get better, oh wow, this makes sense. Why are we doing it baby step? I'm like, yes. Like I'm not gonna like, have you go from A to Z. It's not gonna work.
Yeah. So I'm I like telling people stories that are parallel, but not their own story, because then it's easier to be okay with the information or absorb the information because you're not fighting back against your own defenses. So the one example I like to give is if I were to go to the gym and I've been a couch potato for a few years now, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go to the gym and lift 400, I'm going to squat 400 pounds. You'd be like, Kanjana, no, you haven't been to the gym in 3 years and you're going to go there and just squat 400 pounds? I'm not going to see you tomorrow. Good luck, girl. You're not going to make it. That's so violent. Why would you do that to your body to go from doing nothing to squatting 400 pounds? Right? Probably what you would encourage me to do, I hope, would be like, hey, what if you went to the gym and tried your form with no weights? Maybe you just try it with the bar and see how that goes and build that up. And then as you feel ready, add a little bit of weight. And maybe you get to 400, maybe you never do. Let's let go of the 400 and just focus on that next step. And that's form. Let's get the form right before we add weights. And that can sometimes help people who tend to be like, oh, or perfectionistic, or I want to jump to the end and snap my fingers and I feel better. No, that's actually violent. We don't want to do things that way anymore. We don't want to go from 0 to 100. That would be like going to the gym after 3 years and lifting 400 pounds. Please don't do that. Let's work our way up. And usually that can be like, okay, yeah, you're right. I would not do that. And I thought you were foolish for saying you were going to do that. Okay, cool. Great. So we can agree. Let's apply that to your story now and give you the same grace and permission to make it actually accessible by making it smaller.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's a great example too, because a lot of people can understand, yeah, if you squat 400 pounds and you're not having any practice or training on it, you will die or get severely
Mhm.
injured. And one of those two options are going to happen.
Yeah, I just picked a number out of my butt, but like I don't think that's physically possible for a lot of folks just out of nowhere.
So secretly a giant and they have more things to I don't think
Exactly. Or I don't know why I'm stuck on movement today, but 0 to marathon. I love the Couch to 5K program. I've done that a couple times when I'm like out of the zone with movement and wanting to get back in because it's gentle and ramps you in. But yeah, if I said I really want to run a marathon, that's a goal of mine. And I've never run before. I haven't run in a long time. And I'm signing up for a marathon next week. I hope you would be like, oh, honey, let's talk that through.
so they can help you're watching it.
Yeah. Yeah. But I feel like that kind of helps folks to see things differently in terms of their mental health. If we can externalize or physicalize it, give it an example that resonates more.
Okay, you break your leg, are you gonna say walk on it the next day?
Yeah,
And most people are
exactly.
gonna be like, "No, the body needs time to heal." I'm like, "Exactly. Your body and your brain needs time to heal too."
Yes. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And interesting too, like, I like those analogies. So many people feel like mental health isn't real because we can't see our brain, and but we also we can see a broken bone. So, like, what would you say to people if they would ever say that to you, mental health isn't real or it's not important?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think when people say mental health isn't real or like it's just all in your head, just think differently, I would give them the example of, okay, let's talk through then a time that like I buy in. Okay, great. Let's talk to through a time then that you had stress, right? Maybe we're not going to use anxiety because mental health isn't real. All right, you were experiencing some stress. Describe that to me. Maybe they talk about like a stressful event at work. And as they're describing it, I'll pause them or interrupt and ask them questions and be like, so what did you notice? Did you notice anything in your body? Did you feel like you were sick? Or they might say, oh, it felt like I'd been running or it was super sweaty and then so we start getting some of those details in the story. And then I can help them connect the dots and say, okay, so clearly something happened. You had a thought about it and then your body reacted, right? You are having, whether or not you imagined it, some kind of reaction to what has happened, right? Even if it was just a thought, your body is still responding and you have some lived experience. That time you all stepped into across the street and, oh no, there was a car, right? That's happened to a lot of us. Or turned the corner and almost ran into someone. That little gasp, right? You have
Mhm.
had a body reaction to something before. So I try to connect it to a lived experience of theirs and explain how one can lead to the other. That gasp, and then now I'm a
Yeah.
little on edge and I'm a little tense. And the next corner I go around, I'm like, oh, I'm going to keep running into people. It takes a little while to settle, and people can relate to that. And then the kind of like that feels like oh no, so all these things are showing up in my body and what can I do? So that might be an opportunity for me to also say it's a two-way street. Yes, these things show up in our body, but that means if we shift what's happening in our body, we can also shift what's happening in our perception. So it doesn't have to go both ways. So if my body is like, I just jumped and now I'm tense and my breath is shallow and fast. I could talk my way into letting go of that tension, or I could move my body. I could breathe into that space. And shifting how I'm holding my body will also shift my thoughts, how I'm feeling. So that kind of lived experience can be helpful, I think, when people are saying, like, it doesn't count or it's invisible, like it's not a broken bone. I should just suck it up. No, this actually can connect directly to your health. And let's look at some real life examples. And they'll usually, when we start talking about it, have one or two when I give them a few ideas, jumping off points like that. Oh, yeah, I almost got hit by a car because I wasn't paying attention or ran into someone at the grocery store.
I think that's a great way of going about it too, is like actually having them recognize that, oh, yeah, my body did respond to an emotional response. And it caused a physiological reaction and response in my body that can show up on all the testing that doctors can do, MRIs, CT scans,
Yeah.
X-rays, all of these things, blood work even, especially
Hmm.
anxiety show up in like all kinds of ways. So yeah, I love like saying like that way. There's physical evidence that these things are happening in your body. And just saying like, don't think about it or vary it has a lot more issues than it solves.
Yes, exactly. And I think, like you said, when we can sometimes point out the evidence and say, if you want, I'm happy to share that with you. Like sometimes we have to know why a thing works to feel more open to it. That's fine. Let's look at then why it works or how it works, and then we can try it. And it's always an experiment. And I always tell people, like, I didn't make any of this shit up. So if you hate it, just tell me and we'll throw it away. It's not going to hurt my feelings. It's from yoga. It's been around for 3,000 years. It's not mine. We'll be cool. Just tell me you hate it. We'll move on. And that can give folks permission to. That, okay, we're going to experiment with some of this stuff. And if it's not for you, I'm going to respect that. And we'll explore what about it wasn't for you, so we know what to do differently.
It's really true because it's even like with hypnotherapy. I love using hypnotherapy with people. I love it more than EMDR. And it's just some people like they don't open to it, looking to fix it. But then we'll do EMDR, even though there's a lot of overlap between the two of them. But I don't people don't always listen to that part. So so just like we do the more researched one, even though hypnotherapy has been around for thousands of years as well. And it's just
Yeah.
okay, it's not for you, we'll just try something different.
Yeah, exactly. And I love the hypnotherapy piece. That's definitely something I'm so curious about.
Well, so much it's so fun. And the certification program that I did also had a certification piece for past life regression too.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. And
I might have to
that
steal that info from you.
I'll totally give that to you because she's amazing and I love her to death. So Lena Gorley, and she's
Okay.
just celebrate every step. Amazing woman. 100% recommend.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Also send you her intro.
Yeah, please.
But it's still the same thing though. It was works for the client like in their journey. And it's like showing
Yeah.
them like ways of getting in touch with their body and helping them be on the way that makes the most sense for them, whatever
Yeah.
malady it is. It doesn't have to be the thing like Western ideals that everyone thinks it has to be. Like we can pull in other things ethically and culturally like sensitive as well as we need to.
Yeah, exactly. And if we say only what is in the West is neutral, like, then we do have a hierarchy.
Yeah.
We're calling everything else adjunct or alternative. It's also therapy, but we do have a tendency to place Western frameworks above others. And there's a lot of bypassing in Western frameworks where we're centering calm above everything else. And I think we're seeing more and more how that's just not working for people anymore because we don't exactly live in a time
Right.
where calm is easy access.
So, like, I don't even know anyone nowadays that actually experiences calm on a daily basis, even people that have like really good like meditation practices or like daily self care rituals. Because the world is just constantly in flux right now. So I totally understand. You can't be calm all the time. It's just not possible.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And if we say that calm is the goal, then we're implying that other emotions or states are bad. And that's not what we're trying to do in therapy.
It's more, okay, all emotions are valid and have a reason to be. It's all about how we respond to them. No, that matters the most.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, how can we stay grounded and still feel clear while experiencing them? It's not that we are getting rid of them. We still need them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This has been amazing. I feel like we could go on for hours. But
I know.
do you have any tips or tricks that you want to leave anyone with?
Oh gosh. Yeah. So if you are interested in like yoga and Reiki and bringing that into session and you've been dipping a toe in, I would say for breath work, my favorite practice for folks for starting is just awareness, just turning inwards and noticing your breath without trying to change it throughout different parts of the day. So, what is it like when you wake versus when you sleep versus when you're stressed or happy or sad, like different emotional states or nervous system states when you feel that go intensity or you're having a hard time initiating. And so then we learn what is your breath like during these different parts of your life or your day. And then we can start to explore when we do this practice to shift your breath, what changes for you, rather than let's do some deep breathing out of nowhere without any kind of basis. And then it's my one of my little soapboxes. Deep breathing can have a paradoxical effect for people with a history of trauma and induce panic attacks. So let's maybe not start with deep breathing as our first breath work practice. So that would be my call in is and little tip is let's start with just awareness or even just an extended exhale, because letting your exhale be longer than your inhale lowers your heart rate, which is again that two-way street kind of vibe. Where it's, oh, my heart rate's a little slower. My attention is starting to melt. I'm feeling a little more settled and less fearful. because my heart rate is slower. Okay, let's try that and just make your exhale 1 moment longer instead of make it 6 counts longer. There's all these things that can stress people out, especially if they're perfectionists or neurodiverse. All these cues can be tough. So as much power, like choice that you can give in your cueing, I think that's a really great tip too. So let your client decide whether or not they want to do that kind of breath practice. And if it's, I don't want to breathe at all, like that's praised. Great. You can choose to let your exhale be longer or not make any changes at all, whatever feels right to you in this moment. So that kind of like really permission giving reminders for choice and agency. I think that's my number one tip with bringing in any kind of ancestral and spiritual practice is consent, choice, options, and pacing.
Amazing. And what's like the best way for people to get in touch with you if they want to learn more or like even take any classes with you?
Yeah, probably social media. So all of my trainings for therapists are under wanderhome.tlc. That's my Instagram handle. And I'm building the website right now. So that'll be open soon. Until then, it'll be on the Healing Hearts website, which is the group practice. So it's all one company. I'm just pulling out the CEs and therapist specific events and placing them under Wander Home. So it's easier for folks to differentiate what's for clients and what's training for therapists. So getting in touch by the web or social media would be great. And of course, always email's an option too.
And all your links will be down below too in the description so you go to easily click on. But oh my gosh, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for being on today. And I hope people learned a lot about using yoga and practice and like all the other things that we talked about today. It's been so much fun.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And I hope something that I'm noticing as a neurodivergent clinician myself is like when I have these conversations, I hope people leave feeling like I don't want this to feel gatekeepery at all. I want people to feel like, yes, of course, you need to know what you're doing and get some training because we don't want to do any harm. And don't be afraid to learn this stuff, right? Yeah, don't just jump in and make stuff up, but get the training and then start practicing. And if you're using language with a lot of choice, then your client really has a lot of agency in the process and they can say no. There's a lot of opportunity for growth and learning. And if you feel stuck or like you don't know what is your path or how to apply it, find someone who can mentor you. There's so many therapists that are doing this work and have been doing this work. And I truly think it's the next wave of therapy. When I started this 15 years ago, people thought I was real weird. And now everybody's interested. So it's pretty cool that it's becoming more mainstream. But it does mean we have to discern a little about where we're learning this stuff.
That's very true. That's why I have to get a reputable people, make sure things are being done ethically. Yeah, it's so true. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you, Carrie. You too.